All right, YouTube. I recently acquired this Coleman 200A. It's a single mantle lantern. Some of you may or may not be familiar with them. But this was produced, I think, from the 50s until somewhere maybe in the mid to late 80s. This one, I think, is from 1970. I got it from the original owner. Still has the original box. Came with fuel in it. See the box. It's worn and torn, but it's still kind of neat to see just anything from that vintage. But I know personally that it hasn't been used in probably 30 years. So this is the condition I got it in. Like I said, it's very good. But I'm going to show you a couple things I look at when I'm working with them. Before I do that, this is also a vintage can of white gas, Coleman lantern fuel. I don't think there's anything special about the fuel other than the can, but I do want to say, when I looked up the material safety data sheet, it turns out to be pretty much this, which is naphthalene. So you want to exercise caution. It's extremely flammable. And to demonstrate that, I think most people know what a Zippo lighter is. All it takes is a spark. So use caution. So the first thing I would do, you want to remove the cap slowly in case there's pressure in the tank. As long as this is set, probably none. But I like to take a look at the seal in there and make sure that it's still in decent working condition. And this one is. And you take a flashlight and kind of look in the tank and see, is there any rust or crud or anything in there that there's not supposed to be. And this one was nearly full. The fuel's in great shape. Doesn't smell foul or anything like that. I think naphthalene actually stores for a very long time. Now, while I'm working on the rest of this lamp, I want to pressurize the tank. I think it says something like 30 strokes in the manual. I don't know that I have to get that carried away. The reason that I'm pressurizing it, though, once you get done pressurizing it, you got to turn that to the right to lock it. The reason I'm pressurizing it is so that I can tell if there's any leaks. And I don't hear any. There doesn't appear to be any at this point, but we'll see while we're working on it. I can see that the mantle's bad, so I want to gain access to that to change it and see what we can find. First thing is the bail has to come off. So get that off out of the way. Now we're going to take the hood off. And it does appear to have the original Pyrex globe. I think everybody's familiar with Pyrex. You probably have it in your kitchen. It has good resistance to temperature extremes. So if it gets wet, it's not going to undergo thermal shock like regular glass would and break. So we're going to get rid of these old pieces of mantle here. It also came with some vintage mantles. Let's see which one I have. Kmart, 77 cents. You can tell that that's been a while. This takes a number 21 sock style mantle. It'll look something like that. So I'm paying attention to it here, trying to listen. There are no leaks, so we're good in that regard. You just take your mantle up there and cinch it up. You do want to take care that you don't have any kind of oil or grease, anything on your fingers, because going to shorten the life of your mantle. A lot of these older ones, they just have a string here that you got to pull tight. Let me turn it back around. Well, I'm going to get a knot started in it and put it back up there. And it slid down. If I didn't have an audience, this would have went really smooth, I'm sure. And I'm going to tie it again. So we're in good shape there. Once you have it tied, you need to trim this string off to within a 1/4 inch. Something like that. You will want to wash your hands when you're done with this. The early mantles had, I think it was thorium. They had a slightly radioactive material that made them brighter. I guess they were like 20% brighter than most of the mantles you find now. I think they determined it was relatively safe, but you know, like the dust from these, you don't want to breathe that, and you know, you don't want to leave it on your hands either. So the next step you're going to do is take your match. You got to burn the mantle off. Now after you do this, the mantle's going to be very fragile. So this will only take just, you know, maybe a minute. And while I'm waiting on that, you look around to your back side here. Occasionally you need to spin this a few times. There's a needle in here that this acts as an eccentric that pushes a needle up and down that cleans out your generator. And just if you had any impurities in your fuel or you know, any kind of nasty stuff, clean that out. Well, that mantle doesn't look that great. I don't know. When you go to put this back on, you'll notice that it needs to line up with these for your handle. Just like so. Thread your brass nut back on. Bail goes in. Now, let's see if we hear gas. And we do. So, I'm going to get a match ready. There's differing opinions on exactly when to light these. So at some point here, this should start to turn into a bright white light. It should even out here in a minute. There's more what I'm looking for. We'll turn out the lights here for a second to see how bright this is. You can see it's pretty bright. I don't think it's anything near, what a modern day LED light would put out. But I think they're still relevant for camping. You might use them in an emergency scenario, or even just for the nostalgia. There were a lot of these produced, so I'm sure some of you grew up camping with them, in your younger years. We actually could compare this while the lights are out. Let's compare it to kerosene lantern. Get another match here. You have to bear with me. I don't know, they're actually a little more similar than what I expected. We can get the lights back on. I'm going to turn this kerosene lantern out. So, if you should happen to find one of these at an estate sale, garage sale, at a reasonable price, and it's something you're interested in, I definitely wouldn't pass it up. Like I said, this one's in pretty good overall condition, and I'm sure there's a lot more out there that are in decent shape. This one, I don't know. The mantle doesn't seem that great. It could have had some deterioration from being in the box. I know it's been in the elements. But I just wanted to share that with everybody. Thanks a lot.